Every effective tool for evangelization has one thing, and that's a clear presentation of the Kerygma. The Kerygma is just the basic story of Christianity. It's the summary, it's the kernel, it's the core, it's the basic gospel message. It's the heart of our faith. And if this is presented clearly and beautifully and persuasively, then people have the opportunity to respond to it. And so it's important that we know what the Kerygma is so that we can fall ever deeper in love with God. But it's also important as evangelists to know for a couple of reasons. The first is that we can actually share this with other people. But the second is that we can evaluate how effective tools will be. You know, when you look at a tool and you want it to lead a person towards initial conversion, really the fundamental question to ask is, how persuasively does it present this Kerygma? So, what is the Kerygma? Well, the Kerygma has been presented different ways. I just want to give you one very simple way to remember the core of the Kerygma, and it's this. Number one, God made us for a relationship with himself. That's why we exist. That's why he brought us into being, because he wants to love us. He wants us to know his love, and he wants us to love him in return. This love is a relationship, and that's why you and I exist. That's the purpose of our very being. The second part of the Kerygma is that sin has wounded and in some way broken that relationship with God. That sin it's our no to God. It's us rejecting that offer of friendship that God has made to us. And so while we've been made for this, we in some sense are estranged from God because sin has chosen honor, wealth, power, pleasure, instead of choosing God himself. But the third part of the Kerygma, this is the good news, that Christ longs to restore this relationship with us. And so he takes on human flesh, and ultimately he suffers, he dies, he's buried, and he rises from the dead. And through his death and resurrection, Jesus Christ conquers death. He conquers eternal death, to which we were all destined. He conquers sin, which has separated us from God. And he has won for us redemption and salvation, that we can once more enter into this great friendship of God, this great family of God to which we are invited. And the fourth and final dimension of the Kerygma is that we need to respond. We need to give our yes. This salvation that Christ won for us, it's just an invitation. And so the question is, will we say yes to it? This yes is manifested in a variety of different ways. It can just be in the silence of our hearts saying yes. It can be through baptism, where we are regenerated and welcomed into the family of the church. It can be returning to the sacraments, especially confession if we've been gone away for a long time. It can be kind of a public confession of faith that it leads us ever more into the life of the church. It can be a time of prayer with God where we acknowledge our sin, where we acknowledge that we have not lived under his lordship, and we give our yes. This is the Kerygma. And the high point of it is that we respond to the invitation. Every good tool that you will ever find for the work of evangelization will always have the Kerygma embedded within it. Because the Kerygma is the engine. The Kerygma is what leads people to an encounter with Christ and a choice to respond to him.